I lied, I wasn't ready. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to Exito sin Fronteras, Success Without Borders. Will you hand me that paper real quick, please?
I can do that.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
First off, I want to thank our sponsors, Encore Bank and ADA Concrete, for making this show possible for everyone so we can continue to be here and provide you some good shows. Encore Bank, let's see. I don't know what to say about Encore Bank. I always say the same thing, but they're a really good bank. That's all your commercial banking needs, real estate needs. They actually have a really good program right now with a grant for any home purchase that you might need. So give them a call, 303-410-0804, and ADA Concrete for all your now summer needs for your patios, anything that you need done to your patio this summer. Are you doing it? Oh, never mind.
No.
That is a wrong question to ask right now. My bad.
That's all right.
Fix up your patio, stamp concrete, do I can't think of what it's called right now. Do a power wash, do the sealant to make it look pretty if you've done your patio soon. But welcome back, everyone, to Success Without Borders. Today, Baltazar Villanueva, our new host for
Midday Fitness.
Midday Fitness. You'll see him tomorrow. So why not interview him and put him in an uncomfortable situation today?
It's okay. I'm used to those.
So before we start, see, I even wrote this out for me because the last few episodes, I didn't really feel present, and I hope you guys, if you saw it or not, call it out. Let me know. I wasn't really feeling it here, and I do a lot of, what do you call it, self-analysis, and if it's not the guest, if it's not the show, it's 100% me. I feel like the show, we can't talk about success, and I can't call the show Success Without Borders or Exito sin Fronteras without really talking about responsibility. So Baltazar gets to be my test subject today on radical responsibility. Good thing I did give him a heads up that we were talking about radical responsibility.
We did. We had a small conversation about it through texting. Sure.
So I feel like, again, if we can't talk about success without talking about responsibility. The truth is that, right, it doesn't work. So there is no success without ownership, and as you're going to talk about today, right, you can't be healthy, you can't be fit if you don't own it.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you can't build a business, you can't build a relationship, a life, a habit, a career, a family, nothing if you're not really 100% responsible. Well, that I want to say a successful one. You can build all these things, and you can complain. I was about to cuss right now. You can complain, you can cry, you can moan on all these topics and why you're not happy, but it's because you're not responsible. So thus why we're taking this twist today with Success Without Borders and adding that responsibility part of it to it. What do you think?
Hey, I'm down to try anything new. So this will be the first format for this, so I'll be happy to be your guinea pig on it.
Woo! So at some point, right, you have to look at your life and say, this is mine. Not all of it, right? But what is yours? Your choices, your reactions, your standard, that is all yours. And until you own that, nothing changes. So from this point forward, Exito sin Fronteras is going to be different, and I am very excited, and I hope the energy is back, because I am very excited for this new shift, because as Baltazar knows, I like to make people responsible.
I won't confirm nor deny that you like confrontation.
No, there's a big difference, and we could talk about this. That's a great comment. That there's a difference between confrontation and getting things out in the open and clearing them out.
Well, without a doubt. So, like, anytime as a coach, you have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations.
Correct. And I am. To me, having uncomfortable conversations, it's very natural. And for everyone else, everyone freaks out, and it's like, oh my God, you're being confrontational. But I think it's because society, culture, our parents, our family, the education system doesn't teach us how to have these conversations.
I would agree with that to an extent. Yeah, absolutely. I think if you talk education-wise, there's definitely a difference between there having to be a yes or no or an absolute versus critical thinking skills and being able to work your way through a situation or a question or whatever you may be facing at that given time.
Well, you know my littlest daughter. She would come home from school. And she's, oh my God, this little kid called me a loser, and I taught her how to have conversations. And let's say you say confrontational. I'm sure there's another word for it, and I gotta figure this out because I know I've used it before. It's not top of mind right now. And I'm like, look, these are the steps you take, right? You tell the kid to stop. Two, you go to your teacher, and if none of that works, you punch the kid in the throat. That I the third one is like the last limit. She's like, well, some people are gonna get mad. Mom's not gonna get mad because you use the other tools that I've given you beforehand, right? So I feel like at that point, with what I'm saying here, and the confrontation is, most people have had the opportunity to have step one, step two, and now I'm at a point where your behavior is no longer acceptable. So now you get throat punched. Does that make sense?
It does. So, okay, so from a business coaching perspective, you're saying that like there's just comes a certain point where you have to be not necessarily like assault your client, but yeah, you have to be
figuratively.
Yeah, like you have to take it to that next step.
Correct. Okay. Otherwise, it all depends on how we grew up, right? So a lot of us, and let's say in the Hispanic community, there was force.
Yes.
I
would agree with yes.
There was blunt force, and honestly, if there wasn't blunt force, we didn't listen.
That is true too.
So if now, as adults, there is no blunt force, and again, not physically aggression, but if there's not that hard, hey, listen, because I'm gonna get the chancla out, then we don't listen as adults either, because we still run around like kids. We still behave like children as adults. So that's kind of where that mentality comes from, right? Is if you're used to being pushed, you're used to getting yelled at, you're used to all these things in order for you to take action. And if you're getting coaching, you have to have that push in order to learn or to see what you're doing wrong, because niceness isn't going to cut it.
Okay, I get that part. I get the, like, there was an old saying that one of my teachers used to tell me when I was in martial arts, like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness in that aspect. And so I get where you're coming from with that perspective of like, yeah, you have to be able to push someone, and sometimes it does take a little bit of a different direction than necessarily just kid gloves with the client. I get that part of it.
And I want to say, I love clients that can handle this, right? I will coach clients that are not ready for that extra push, and it's even go back to I do not coach clients that aren't ready to handle accountability.
I know I agree with you on that part too. I think everyone approaches it at a different time in their life when they're ready for it. Like you may be ready for coaching at one point, but that's where I think different coaches also are beneficial to people in that aspect.
Next week, I'm gonna have a guy that I used to coach. Well, I want to say coach, but he worked with me. He worked with me, and he's told me himself, I've had coaching where coaches were super nice to me and it didn't help me. I had you, and you were very direct to the point, called me out on my BS, and it clicked.
And that's what some people need. Like they need that direction with people. Other people do need to take steps to get there. Like I've had clients who we've worked together for 6 months, and it wasn't until month 3 that they were like, oh, okay, I do need to take this seriously if I want to start seeing even more results. Because like, you do 70% of what I tell you to do when it comes to your health and nutrition. And you're going to see partial results to where you might be like, what am I actually doing? Versus like, yeah, if you're 90% committed to what I'm telling you, you're going to see some fantastic results, because it's not always going to be perfect. But sometimes it does take people a little bit extra time to get to that spot.
Okay. Well, let's take it back a little, because now you kind of went into what you do. So
sure.
I want you to introduce yourself to everyone that's listening.
Absolutely.
Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Baltazar Villanueva. I am the owner of Relentless Spirit Fitness and Nutrition. I'm a nutrition coach and personal trainer. For 30 years of my life, I'm 42 right now, I was in the martial arts, actively pursuing it as a career. At some point in my mid-20s, I developed an eating disorder, and I also was overtraining, so it became very easily for me I was just punishing my body too much. So I unfortunately had to stop. So for about 17 of those years, though, I was actually instructing and teaching anyone from the ages of 5 all the way up to 70. At that point, I had to take a step back. I mentally wasn't ready for what I was doing to my body. Like I just, all those years of training, I never understood like why I didn't look a certain way. And so I just became obsessed with overtraining at that point. And then, like I said, I went from having 3 injuries normally on my body to having like 6 or 7. Like I just wasn't functioning right. So, you know, a silver lining in this is that I stopped training. I met a girl, ended up having a family, got married, rebuilt my relationships with my family and my friends at that point. Because by the time I was getting ready to leave martial arts at 27, I had completely kind of destroyed my personal life. Like I just, it consumed me so much to try and look a certain way that I wasn't me anymore, and I didn't recognize myself at that point. So over the next 10 years, though, from like 27 to 37 roughly, I was still trying to figure out why I didn't achieve a certain look, like why I just kind of looked like a skinny, fat kind of person. I say that, I have clients who hate when I use that term, and I apologize, but it truly is like where you have no muscle mass on you really, but and you look good with your clothes on, but the moment you take your shirt off, you can see this little pudge around my middle section. And I couldn't stand it. I didn't understand why it was like that. So it took me 10 years to figure out, listening to other influencers, trying to find the right information, doing the wrong things, to where I just finally was like, all right, you know, I finally found some good stuff. And then all of a sudden I saw a drastic change in like how I looked, how I felt, and I really liked it. And so as I was going through COVID, working for the city and county of Denver, I was just really bored with what I was doing. Like I joined the eligibility division because I wanted to help people in healthcare, and it just was not fulfilling my life in that way. So I was like, well, what should I do? For all these years, I was teaching people how to defend themselves. Why not go back to it without necessarily all of like the violence, you could say, the fighting aspect of it, and do something else. So that's what I do now is I help people achieve their physical goals and their aesthetic goals without necessarily doing excessive cardio, without doing any type of restricted fad diets like keto, carnivore, vegan, vegetarian. Unless that's what you truly want, then we don't have to take that route. I can teach people how to have a good, solid, whole foods diet without necessarily cutting anything out and suffering.
I love it. And honestly, you just started the talk with radical responsibility, and you gave me so much material.
Okay, good.
Hi, Elise. Thank you for watching. Elise said good stuff.
Ah.
Where do you think in that journey of you wanting to look aesthetically a certain way, where do you think you avoided responsibility?
Where I avoided responsibility in that? Well,
yeah.
Okay, perfect. So my symbol, and I honestly I should have worn my shirt today with my logo on it, is a triangle. And so on the triangle it has aesthetics at the top, performance, and longevity. So like those are like kind of like the 3 pillars you can kind of think of when it comes to your health in that sense. In my mind, from the time I was about 21, I started watching like music videos. You see people really thin, you're like, damn, I want to look like that person. Not actually knowing that genetics plays into that, or they have to eat a certain way, and all of this plays a role in it. So at 21, I was like, I really want to look like that. And so I could never figure it out despite how much movement I was already doing. I was eating Chipotle like twice a day. I didn't realize that was like causing the issue. But I had burned so many of the calories while doing it. So I wasn't never fat in that sense, or like, huge in that way. But it definitely played a role in that, in just not knowing exactly what I was doing or what the actual goal was. People come to me with a goal and say, I want to do this, but in reality, it's another goal. Like, I want weight loss. I want to lose weight. I don't like the number on the scale. Okay, cool. Do you just want to lose weight, or do you want to lose fat? And people don't really understand that, because if they just want to lose weight, you should just cut off a leg or a limb and you'll instantly lose weight that way. But if you want to look good in a bikini or your swimsuit, whatever, like, you want the fat loss. And then at that point, does it matter if you got on the scale and it showed you a number that you didn't like, but I didn't know that number, but you looked the way you wanted to in a bikini? That number then means absolutely nothing, becomes irrelevant. And it's more so like, how does America feel in her own body, and how does she perceive herself? that's the more important thing.
I'm not ready to cut off extremities yet.
Yeah. I
Nor
wouldn't.
we're telling you to go cut
You should
off
keep your
extremities.
appendages as long as you possibly can. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But I guess the question is, right, kind of when you were saying, where did you avoid responsibility? It was more of the mental aspect, right?
Not knowing, like, and that's where most people are in their health journey, is like not actually knowing what the goal is.
So the responsibility that people are avoiding is education?
It can be, yeah.
Perfect.
Education, and then also just following influencers, not thinking for themselves in that aspect.
Okay. So, oh, I love that because you just said that you saw MTV videos, right?
Yeah.
And you idolized them and you wanted to look like them, but then that was also kind of the avoidance of responsibility.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I want to say with you, where do you think you resisted taking ownership of what was going on with your, could we call it body dysmorphia?
Yeah. Oh, that happened. So if at 21 I started to think about that, by the time I was 25, I was super unhappy. So at 26, I was just like, listen, I'm just gonna increase the amount of effort that I'm putting out. Again, not even realizing what I was about to embark on, the damage I was about to do to my body. Again, goes back to education and knowing. But I was just like, I'm gonna go all in. And so like within 30 days, I had been going to the gym twice a day for 2 hours each time doing cardio. And so doing, I'm gonna end up, okay, I'll sit on your lap. So from here, I would go to the gym for about 2 hours, 2 times a day. And on top of that, I was also at the martial arts school training for about 6 hours of individuals. And so that would be anything from fighting with them for 30 minutes or doing something physically active. Maybe it was even more push-ups and stuff. So my cardio was through the roof. I had went from roughly about 200 pounds, and I'm 200 pounds now, just a different 200 pounds, to 180 pounds in 30 days. And people might be like, oh shit, that's odd. Can I cuss? Sorry, I guess I...
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so people might be like, oh my god, that's amazing that you lost 20 pounds in 30 days.
He lit the saying to not hide.
And so
I don't bite, I promise.
Personal space. No, but in any way, like I had lost 20 pounds in 30 days, right? And so people were like, oh my god,
how do you do that?
You look amazing and stuff like that. And so in my mind, again, listening to influencers, not thinking for myself, I would hear them say, well, if you actually have a specific goal, like if you want to be 180 pounds, you actually have to be slightly under 180 pounds to be that. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't think about that. And so all of a sudden, my obsession went even further, where I was just like, okay, I'm going to get to 178 pounds or maybe 177. So this way, if I have a meal, I'm still at 180. In my mind, like I'm not thinking that like your natural weight is first thing in the morning after you go to the bathroom. Like that's your true weight right there. Okay, it doesn't matter throughout the day, because then if you're someone who weighs themselves at like 12 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon, you've had water, you've had food, you've exercised, you might have been sitting at your desk, and so all of a sudden by the end of the day, you should be naturally another like 6-8 pounds heavier, but you shouldn't freak out about that. And in my mind, I didn't realize that. So I would see those things and I would start to try and counter that first thing, like, okay, instead now I have to get to 173 pounds, or I have to get to 170 pounds. And eventually I got to 168 pounds. And then I started looking at things like the BMI, right? Body mass index. And again, that's horrible too, by the way, is don't use that as a state of like, or state of reference of like where I should be, a starting point or an end point. Because I looked like death at that point. I was super thin. You could see my cheekbones really well. I had no, like, again, all the lean muscle mass on me from everything I did in martial arts was pretty much deteriorated, and I didn't realize it for myself.
Do you think you would have been able, and I want to say, heal your body? I think that's an accurate statement, considering you just said you look like death.
Mm-hmm.
If you wouldn't have taken responsibility.
Oh, without a doubt, I would have pushed myself even further, to the point to where I probably wouldn't have even been able to do what I do now. direction in which I was going with it. I was just so mentally gone at that point, that the place I loved the most, where I had the most passion for, became so toxic to my well-being.
Well, what would you say to anyone that's struggling through what you went through? What would you tell them today? Tell tell those listening to us. What would you tell them today?
I would say find a good therapist, right? Like, you might be thinking like, oh, I need to go work with Baltazar because he's a personal trainer, he's a nutrition coach, and you absolutely can. You need to find a good therapist though. So I would be a very inexpensive therapist, and I would be horrible for you in that aspect, because trainers are not meant to deal with those day-to-day things that people are thinking about and those mental blocks that we go through. I myself have gone through that, but again, that still doesn't make me qualified to be your therapist. I would say that's where you need to start. Get you a good therapist, talk it out, see how you can get through whatever is bothering you in your life, whether it happened when you were a child, maybe a grandparent or someone said that you were fat or made you feel uncomfortable with your body. And now you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and you're super unhappy with yourself. These are things that you need to speak to with someone else. At that point, in tandem, you can now work with someone like myself to help you with your nutrition, teach you, how macronutrients like proteins, carbs, fats work, and how eating actually helps you get to the position that you want to be in, whether it would be to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain weight. Food is actually the direction you need to focus on in order to do that, and you shouldn't be afraid of eating at that point, because then it drives our ability to work out.
Yeah, donate. See, you see these lonjas? Don't be afraid to eat, guys, because then Baltazar's gonna be able to burn them off.
There you go. It's good fuel.
Also, for anyone that wants to join us on Wednesday,
midday fitness.
Yeah, midday fitness. we're still learning the name. By all means, send us a message. We would love to have you. Pablo is here watching our show, and he's gonna come tomorrow too. I just volunteered him.
Yeah, you did.
Elith is gonna be here tomorrow on our show tomorrow as well. But I like how you said, and I feel like a lot of people, and especially coaches, and I'll include myself, and we kind of want to be everything for everyone. And I love how you said you're not a therapist, you're not someone that's going to be able to do certain things for people, and that's very important, right? To be able to work with professionals that are going to be able to tell you, I'm not the right fit, I can't fill this need, I can't fill this void, find someone else, or I could refer you to someone else that can do this for you, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if you can find a great team to support that, that's beautiful. And I also think, kind of going back to the responsibility, sometimes we want one person to be our everything.
Yeah.
I love it. For everyone that's just joining us right now, welcome to KUHS, Exito sin Fronteras, Success Without Borders. Today we have Baltazar Villanueva, and our new take on the show is Radical Responsibility. Do you think, Baltazar, and again, you're a coach, so I love this conversation because it goes for you and your clients. Do you think people confuse healing or working out with avoidance?
Without a doubt, I think it's a crutch. I think people tend to abuse something in their life, right? Like, we might have a vice in one way or another. Maybe like you come to see me and your vice at the time was either smoking, alcohol, or just food in general, sugar addiction, or you just sodium filled type stuff, anything of that matter. You're basically substituting one thing for another if you allow it to drive your life too far. So like, if you go from not working out to starting to work out to suddenly you want to be working out 5, 6, 7 days a week, then now you have completely flipped the script of what one vice was and what your new vice will be. And ultimately, like I was saying again, like, if you focus on like a triangle, rather than trying to pull on one string is to the max that you possibly can, you want to try and achieve that balance, right? Like, you may not necessarily have the greatest of bodies, like you might not be sporting a six-pack as a man, Which, by the way, too, I just want to let people know, just because someone has a six pack still doesn't mean that you should be trying to achieve one. Like everyone, like I
Are you
work.
gonna show us your six pack?
No, no, I'm staying fully clothed today.
Oh, tomorrow then.
Maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see. But no, like I work with a lot of men who are just like, I want to have a six pack, and the sacrifice that you have to make is huge, right? Like you have to give up things like, oh, I like to go out with my friends and have sushi on the weekend with some drinks. Like I have a client right now where he just got done telling me, he's like, yeah, I'm down to 194, but I didn't work out last week and I drank a bunch of wine and I see it. It's like, yeah, those things can't happen, at least not for a really long time. If you're in the process of trying to build one, it's not worth it in that aspect. What you want to, again, to get back to my point, is you want to achieve balance. So like you have a good looking body, maybe you're not the strongest person, but you can perform for yourself, right? And then your longevity is there. Like you don't feel like ass at the end of a workout, and you don't feel like you're, if you work out at 6 in the morning, you don't want to feel like you're dead for the rest of the day because you thought you had to go to the gym and just pound the crap out of your body. Like, no, you want to feel like, yeah, I can take on the rest of the day. I can work with my kids at home for homework. I can make dinner. I can go for a walk with my spouse. Like, you want to be able to do all these other things, and trying to make a 60-minute workout the most excruciating as you possibly can isn't the way to do it.
Okay. So Alexis said, I have a friend who got really fit and then became rude and even made this girl cry because now that he's skinny, he would call other people fat. What do you say to people like that who think they're better because they're fit? Everybody is different, so it's easier to lose weight for some than others.
That is true too. And you have to think, again, like, to speak to your point, like he became fit and then he wanted to call out other people. Those are more just insecurities in that individual, right? Like they were able to overcome something in their life, so now they want to point it out, the flaw in others, and that's horrible on that individual's part. I would say, like, looking at it, like, again, is the individual like super thin now, but he has a lot of flabby skin or something like that? Like, no one is perfect in their aesthetic form. Like, you have to keep that in mind. And if you are someone who is struggling with with someone in your life like that, then you can reach out again to a therapist or a coach like myself, like to get help and support to help you along those ways. Like you're saying, like, oh, some of us can't lose weight. It's because there's no one size that fits all for everybody, right? Like what I plan out for America and Luis here on Wednesdays is going to be different from what I would plan out with someone that I had a full gym to go to, or like a lady I'm going to see later on today who's 66. Like I can't train her the same way that I would train two people in their 30s. Like everybody.
So Henry's
is
in his
different.
30s too?
Oh, I forgot. No, Henry is there too, but no, like with Henry, same thing. Like I can put him through some of the similar things that we would do, but again, like at some point, Henry might be like, oh, I can push a little bit harder, or you know what, those squats that we're doing are bad on my knees. Can I do something else? And then a good trainer will go ahead and be able to adapt a workout to what the individual needs. I think I said this last week, is that if you are just looking for someone to kick your ass in your workout, you need to hire the cheapest trainer that you could possibly find. But if you want someone who is going to actually build a program for you to be successful and to help someone like your friend who is just like, yeah, I can't lose weight, or some of us have issues losing weight, as easy as others, like that's where you need to invest in a trainer. And you might be thinking like, well, I don't necessarily have the income to have a trainer for a long period of time. You don't necessarily need to hire a trainer for a super long period of time either. If you can muster out 3-6 months of training, that will help you enough to go to the gym, feel confident in the exercises that you need to perform, and to put you in the right direction with your nutrition, right? Like if you can 6 months say, listen, Baltazar told me that I need to start meal prepping. He's given me the tools to learn how to meal prep and how to do all of those things. I can be successful after 6 months of nutrition, and you'll lose weight in that process too. You'll just be able to continue it on without me. It's then at that point where something like the exercises, like you need to pay attention, right? Like that's one of the things. It's a luxury for some people to be like, I don't need to remember these exercises like I have you. And again, I might have clients listening to this. I'm not picking on you specifically because I have multiple clients who tell me that. Like, I don't, I have you. Why do I need to remember the exercise? And that's,
Guilty.
yeah. So, and that's the point. It's like, okay, so like, if you can at least remember some of the core things that I've taught you while we're together, you're going to have great success on your own afterward. And you've invested yourself, you've invested into your health, in which you can take down further down the road. But find a trainer that, to speak to America's point, like when we first started this, it was like find a trainer that you jive with, where you guys vibe together. Because most importantly, you know, the relationship that you build between two people in that personal setting. Because like I say, I'm not a therapist, but I learned a lot of personal stuff about my clients, and that's because we spend 1 to 3 hours a week with each other in the gym, and you have to fill that time when you're resting. Because there are times where I'm like, nope, you got to sit for 2 minutes because I want you to regain your energy. And so you and I are going to have a conversation, whether it be on nutrition, your life, work, what have you. We're going to learn a lot about each other.
Agreed. And it goes back to, again, being responsible and accountable, right? And
Yeah.
and like you said, it is a luxury to have people supporting you.
Yeah.
And I, that's one of the biggest things I see is that even on my side, right? Oh, I have a coach. I have someone that I could just now, how do I want to put this? I told you this. I don't like to coach clients long term, or we can take breaks, because I don't want people to become dependent on me.
Mm-hmm.
For that same reason, I'm pushing people to become responsible and self-sufficient. And it goes back to, and like I said, I'm guilty of going to train and not learning the workouts and just tell me what to do because I'm going through the motions or I'm going through my own emotional mind. Whereas this time that we're working together again, I am committed to that same thing because I can't preach and not do, right? So going back to the radical responsibility here of I have to eat my own words and actually, pay attention and show up and be bought in to everything that I do, including the workouts, including the meals, including everything. And don't get me wrong, I slack, but it's taking that step by step, right? Sometimes, and I'm gonna ask you this: do you think people assume or think that starting with a trainer or starting this new lifestyle, do people think that they have to be perfect as soon as they start?
Oh yeah, people, and that's where I say this too. Motivation, right? Like motivation is what gets people going. Like you have the motivation to reach out to me, to book a consultation, to start a training class, to take on all of this, and you have this gung ho. You're just like, damn right, I'm gonna do this right now. And then in 30 days, you suddenly see that no life altering thing has happened to your body yet. You're not all of a sudden down 20 pounds, like I was saying earlier, but you might have lost a couple pounds. And then so you're disheartened, right? You're just like, well, I didn't lose as much as I thought I was going to lose. And now all of a sudden I want to quit. Where it's not about the motivation that you have to be focusing on. You have to focus on, like, listen, if I am consistent with my workouts and I'm consistent with my nutrition plan, I'm going to see success, right? So if I'm doing that, I'm building the habit. I have my building blocks going. And then you start to develop the discipline. I don't feel like cooking tonight, or I don't feel like eating the same thing, or I don't feel like going to the gym, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the consistency has been built. The discipline to do it when you don't want to do it has been built now, and it's instilled. And those two things are going to trump motivation every day of the week, right? I don't have the motivation to get up at certain hours in the morning that I do to go to the gym and work out. But because I have done it so long and it is just ingrained into who I am now, I just do it. And then I know come Saturday and Sunday, I can pull back a little and I'm cool and I'm good with that because my body needs that. And so, like, that's what people really need to focus on, is not necessarily just the motivation that got you going, but that the other two things are far more important than that.
How would you, or let me take it back to your story at the beginning when you looked like death. How
Yeah.
did you break the cycle?
I started listening to my family actually. So like my sisters, God bless them, were all like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like you don't look healthy." Um, and that was really hard for me to hear at first because like I would sit at home with a shirt off and all that, and they would just be like, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay? Like, are you sick? Like, what's going on with you?" And I didn't want to hear that, but enough they said it to me enough times that I was like, oh, well, maybe I do look bad. And then that's only one part I'm giving you. I told you I had developed an eating disorder, and it wasn't necessarily just me not eating. It was me binging at times too. So like when I was by myself, and this led to me overtraining even more, where the injuries really started to pile on, is that I could not stop eating. So like it would be I would get home from like say a class or something, and I would have a few hours break, and then I would go back in the afternoon. And the moment that I got home, I could not stop eating sandwiches, PB and J's, or cereal, or anything like this because I had bought just enough food for me to hold out for the entire week. I would eat it all in 3 hours. So I would go back to work just feeling awful about myself. My stomach would hurt because I just packed it full of food. And then I would spend the next 6 hours trying to work it all off. And it worked for a short period of time. There was a point where I could end Friday afternoon at like 170 pounds, and then I could eat all this crap over the weekend, and then from Monday to Friday I can get back to 170, and suddenly I can only get to 175, and then all of a sudden I can only get to 180, and then all of a sudden I can only get to 185, and I was still pushing myself as hard as I possibly could. And I didn't understand why all of the weight kept coming back on and on and on until I was just like, I'm done. Like I was so mentally fractured at that point, and my body was so physically tapped out that I was like, I have to stop. And so I did, and I took the next 6 months off of working out, and I stopped. I was able to get back to the point, luckily, thank goodness, without like a therapist, like I was saying, on my own. But not everyone can do that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, find help when you can because it's crucial.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you in the
Okay.
sense of you didn't have help because you said you had your siblings in your family.
Oh, without a
So,
doubt, yeah. In that point in time, though, I didn't think about that until like they were there for me after I had stopped training.
okay, okay.
And then I started to feel better about myself, and I saw that they were like, "You look good. Like like you're looking like you again." And I was like, "Oh, my thank you." It's like that actually means a lot to me.
Right.
So,
Okay. So it goes back to the accountability and being responsible, right? The self harm, I want to say,
yeah,
because a lot of our problems and issues that we have, they could be mental, they could be spiritual, they could be emotional, they could be in relationships. We do it to ourselves.
yeah,
And it goes back to owning that responsibility. The moment you took ownership and you stopped the self harm,
yeah,
is when and again you decided to break the cycle. You're like, okay, I'm done. You kind of went cold turkey, let's call it, on, and I'm gonna call it an addiction
yeah.
to working
It was.
out.
It totally was.
So, and for you to come back, and now actually teach people on your path, that's amazing. So,
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
I
it was
honor
hard.
you for that.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm proud of you. Let's see. Ooh, this is a good question. Can trauma explain your behavior?
I would think so. I think trauma plays a large part in who we are as individuals, right? Like, I remember going through martial arts and getting the crap beat out of me by all the bigger guys because I was only like 12 or 13, but I was super tall. Like, I didn't explain why I even got into martial arts. Like, I got picked on as a kid. And I grew up in the north side, which is like they call it the Highlands now, but like when me growing up from Colorado, growing up in Denver, that was the north side. And so when we moved there, because my mom lived there when I was little, then we moved to Adams County, and then we moved back when I was 7. And at 7, I was going to Valdez Elementary, and I was the tallest kid. I was light skinned, tall like my dad, but my dad's from Chihuahua. That's how they are in the northern part of Mexico. Is they're light. light skin, tall, and usually colored eyes. So I didn't fit in with anyone else. They were all shorter, darker, like, and spoke better Spanish than I did. I mean, I barely speak it now, but like, that was what I was confronted with, and so I got picked on a lot. And my mom knew that I liked martial arts, and luckily there was a school 2 miles from our house. And so she put me in it because she got tired of watching me get my ass kicked by everybody because I didn't know how to defend myself at being as tall as I was. Like, I didn't know how to do anything. So she put me in there, and it helped me build a lot of self-esteem, a lot of self-confidence to be able to go to like Skinner, where I grew up with the nickname BJ. And kids are brutal in middle school. And so I went through 3 years of that nickname and what that means, obviously, and all of that. And it completely made me a stronger person. Not that I would recommend to go through that, by the way, in school, but by the time I got to high school, people would try and do something like that to me, and I was like, no. I mean, I was able to build something out of that trauma, but then I also have other traumas that I grew up with, like domestic violence, watching my mom or my sisters get beat by men in their life, and that really did something to me too. I think that if anything, that molded another aspect of me that people tend to think that's related to the health aspect of my life, where I don't drink and I don't smoke. They might be thinking, well, look at him, he's a trainer, he looks like this, of course that's why he doesn't. And I know plenty of trainers who drink, who have beer or some type of alcohol, but I don't. And I put that more on my father and my brother and other men in my life who did that stuff, and I saw how they treated people. So I leaned away from that. I think more so because of that, because I was like, if they have this addiction or this ability to turn out this way, I don't want to be like them in that aspect.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope it serves everyone out there listening, right? That we all have a character to us, and we build character, and our life experiences have built who we are.
Yeah.
And I want to say, kind of what we just said, right? Does trauma explain your behavior? But I feel like right now, in the path you've taken, you haven't really used it to excuse your behavior.
No, because I've
towards
done plenty
others.
of messed up things too, yeah.
I want to say you haven't used it to excuse your behavior towards other, but I want to say that even subconsciously, you used it to excuse your behavior towards yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I go with that.
And most people we never really acknowledge how our behavior hurts us.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Like that whole year and a half that I basically just destroyed my body. Yeah. Like I didn't take any accountability for it until after the fact, that I was like, oh, I was in a really dark place at that time.
So like that kind of leads into, for yourself and for others, right? And you can even call me out, I don't care, because whatever. On the workout stuff. What does self-betrayal look like? And what did it look like for you in that area? And I want to say, even today, because sometimes we're not very aware of how we betray ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I can, for myself, I feel, I, okay, so like you want to talk from a client perspective. Something that I try to tell all of my clients when I go through a consultation with them is, I don't judge you, because that's automatically what they think is going to happen. I hire this coach, he's going to hold me accountable, and he's going to judge whatever I eat. So I may or may not necessarily report that I had this beer or I had this fast food. And that's far from the point. Like, I'm not trying to judge anybody on what they eat, because I've certainly been there myself with not eating and then with gorging myself. I've done both, right? So it's not my place to say you failed because of this, but it's more like, how can we redirect ourselves to the goal that we actually want to achieve? And this is the hard part that a lot of people get. And why if we set a goal, for example, like I was saying, I have a client who wants to get 6-pack abs. The goal should be half of that, right? And you might be thinking, what does he mean by that? Why can't I get 6-pack abs? Because there's plenty of people who can. That's also a genetic thing too. When you can form 6-pack abs, Like if you look at The Rock, the guy's like 10% body fat and 250 pounds. You don't see six pack abs on him. It's genetic also. But moving on to that is like set like your realistic goal should be half of what you want it to be, right? So if I want to be 10% body fat, 15 is cool. 15 looks good on men, right? Like I rocked 15% for a couple of years there, no problem, and it was easy to maintain. I could still go out a couple nights a week, have dinner with my family. I could eat some candy on the weekends if I wanted to, and come Monday or Tuesday, I was perfectly fine. It was back to where I needed to be. I looked good in my clothes with or without them on. Like I was happy. That's totally achievable for men. Women, like you might be thinking that you have to get super low in body fat percentage too. 18 to 20% looks good on females. Like women, like you have curves, you have breasts, like you look really good at that percentage. Like you should probably take a look and see how many more men look at you when you're at that versus like trying to see yourself as one of the women in the gym who are just like super cut and with their fake breasts and everything like that. Like that's not attractive to me when people take it to that extreme. I would much rather have a woman who has some curves or some figure to her versus just being skinny.
What about yourself? Self-betrayal.
Oh well, I mean.
In the past and now.
Well, in the past, obviously, was the binge eating, right? Like I would restrict and then I would binge. I would restrict and I would binge, and it was just this bad, uh, lifestyle or like relationship with food that I had. Nowadays, how do I betray myself with that? I think I've actually gotten better as I've gotten older. In the sense that like I used to work out 6 to 7 days a week, even when I was like when I learned what I was doing right. I even felt like, well, I still could do a little workout here and there. And then all of a sudden it was like on Sundays I'm like, I want to sleep. Like I want to stay in. I want to like maybe I'll go walk instead. And then Saturdays eventually became the same thing too, where I was just like, why am I going to the gym again? Like even if it's body weight exercise, why am I doing pull-ups? Like why am I doing push-ups? Like there's no point. It's not making me any better. This the sixth day of working out is ridiculous. So I went to 5 days, and now even in those 5 days, 3 of them are intense days, and 2 of them are like lighter, more relaxed, more mobility focused days. I might just feel like I need to get up and do something, but I'm not lifting incredibly heavy amounts of weight. Like I'm doing something that just makes me feel good. So that I think as I've matured into my 40s, that's where I like to be. And this is what I would like to continue on into my 50s and my 60s and 70s until I'm done at that point, right? Like that's just what I want to do. And maybe even at some point I'll drop to 4 or 3 days a week only and I'll walk. Like it's definitely a curve in lifestyle and mental mindset that you achieve over time where you don't have to be doing all of that work. I don't make my clients work out more than 3 days a week. So yeah.
You still didn't answer the question
About like
but,
how
but
I do it. Well, but again, if you're looking at it from the perspective of health, like I don't really see myself betraying myself as I did when I was younger. I feel like I've grown from that position. Now people who know me might be like, no, I mean he. Again, like where I go back to the judgment, like I don't judge people and what they eat. I really do try to feel like I remove any type of ego or that sense from who I am as an individual. Like when I go out with friends to eat or if I go out with clients to eat, I'm like get what you want. Like if I'm not here, be who you are. Hopefully you'll make healthier decisions, but be your authentic self in that time frame because I am. Maybe I will get a burger that day. Most of the time, I'm still the boring ass me where I'm getting like a piece of chicken on some like kale and some other healthy stuff, and people are like, "Oh my god, like, that's horrible." But again, like I really don't see the betrayal of myself, at least when it comes to this aspect of my life.
okay, and you don't want to share the other aspects. It's all good.
Which okay, ask what other aspect would you like to know?
Well, let's keep it in health
Okay.
today. Fine, you'll come back. We'll have this conversation more emotional next time.
Oh, well, you can ask me emotional questions if you want. I don't mind. I had a feeling you were probably going to go down that aisle, but
It's okay. I won't push.
Okay.
How did you rebuild yourself, or how did you rebuild trust with yourself in order to trust yourself, to start eating better, to not push yourself to work out 7 days a week, to give yourself that freedom to have a burger or pizza here
Yeah.
and there?
It took a lot of work. It took a long time to get to that place with myself to feel like I didn't have to work out 7 days or 6 days a week. It was a mental block for sure. It probably wasn't actually until I was through my first year as a nutrition coach that I felt like I didn't have to work out on Saturdays. Like it was relatively close to where we are now. If I'm in year three, this was year one. So it hasn't been that long where I felt like I could ease off and give myself the entire weekend off from training. Um, the food aspect, I felt like I found that way back in probably about 2020, probably during COVID. Which for myself, I was working for the city and county of Denver. We were working from home, so I got to learn how to cook a lot. Actually, like before that, I cooked, but then I really got into like making recipes and like how I can make things healthier. So like I would have breakfast almost 3 times a day. So like I would have French toast, I would make pancakes, I would make waffles. People like my wife at the time would come home like, "Are you making pancakes? It's like 1 in the afternoon." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm making pancakes because it's what I want to eat," and it was healthy. It was high in protein, and so like that's what I did is I just spent this time like learning how to make better choices with foods I really wanted to eat, and it became enjoyable. So like when we would go on Fridays, for example, we would get something like if you're in North Denver, like Gaetano's, they have this really good three meats pizza that I really like to eat, and I would get that on Friday nights. But I wouldn't even necessarily need to eat all of it anymore because I learned how to make pizza at home. And then I would start making that, and then it was like, well, shit, how can I make this higher in protein? So all of a sudden, I was eating pizza that had like 90 grams of protein in it, and I was full. And I was like, well, damn, I don't really need pizza on Fridays anymore. If I do, we'll go out and we'll have it, and I'll have, maybe I'll eat half of it or something like that. But I felt content. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything because of that. So it really changed the dynamics of how I thought at that time. So I would say the nutrition part came first and the workout came second. And I have to say that when I finally realized I didn't have to work out as much, my body started to thank me more from it. I didn't feel like my back ached all the time or my knees ached all the time. Like I felt good. I felt better.
So I want to, in a sense, summarize what you just said for everyone out there, that it took time to
Yeah.
build trust with yourself. It's taken time, it's taken dedication, it's taken yourself to a different level of giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
And it's also taken time for you to actually learn to love yourself from a different version.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I feel like now everyone, and I see it all the time, you're scrolling through social media, right? It's lose weight now, here's this pill now, here's the diet now, here's the semaglutide, right? The Ozempic. Do this and you're gonna lose weight. Take this vitamin. Do this one workout and you're gonna lose weight in 30 days, right? And it also goes in business. Do this, make this video, create this ad, you're gonna make millions. And I feel like people get now disenchanted, like you said, with anything that they do because there is no immediate gratification,
Yeah.
there's no immediate result.
Yeah, there's no instant anything anymore at that point.
Well, I don't want to say anymore, I want to say ever.
Yeah, I mean, well.
And I'm gonna blame us parents here with the new generations that we've taught our kids to give them everything in their hand right then and there, that they didn't have to suffer, or they didn't have to, what's the word here, batallar. How do you say batallar in English right now?
I get what you're saying.
Struggle,
like,
there you go.
You
They
didn't have
to
to struggle with that aspect of
right.
it. Yeah, without doubt.
So I feel like now, because we don't teach our kids, and a lot of our generation, that we didn't have to struggle for many things, that now we want this instant thing to happen, right? And it's with everything. Oh, I went to a therapist for a couple sessions, why am I not better?
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like you expect instant results from the money that you put into it. Everything takes time. I will say, like, since you brought up family and all of that too, and my business has done for me, the aspect of at least my daughter, is that in my first year, there was a lot that I had to be thankful for in my first year of business. I didn't make much money. In fact, I was in the negative the first year that I was in business.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
This is reality.
But was the relationship that I built with my daughter at the time. Like, she would watch me do Instagram reels, and I did this challenge with the coaching business that I was in where I had to go 90 days live on Instagram or Facebook. Like, it didn't matter what the content was, it didn't matter how horrible you were. You just had to do it 90 days of like day in, day out, and I did it. And my daughter would watch me, and it was the cutest thing, and I started crying when I heard her. I was upstairs like chilling out watching TV in my loft, and I heard her grab her tablet. She put it on the stairs and she goes, "Okay guys, today we're gonna learn about protein." She knows nothing about protein. She's 9. So but she's on there, she's like, "You gotta get in your daily protein, you have to do this." And my wife at the time was downstairs in the kitchen, and we could just listen to her talk about that. And if I were to fail at business, like if today I was just to close up, at least I know that I made my daughter like want to do what her dad does for a living. Like, there's no greater feeling. Like, growing up, my mom was a hairstylist and my dad was a cab driver. Like, neither one of those sounded appealing to me growing up. Like, damn, I want to follow in those footsteps. Like, no. But like to mold a child when they're just like, yeah, Dad, I wanna be a coach. And she still tells me that to this day. She's like, when are we gonna go train? Because I want to teach self-defense with you. I want to do this with you. For 2 years solid at least, like, that's what she's doing. And there's nothing more that I would want is to watch her do that. Not because of me, but because she wants to do that because of me.
Right, and I think, honestly, this is why I do what I do, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I'm real, and this is why we talk about, again, throw me under the bus, and I throw myself under the bus. And just like right now, it's like my brain isn't braining, and I can't think of this word in English or in Spanish, but it's real, right? We all make mistakes, we all struggle. You didn't look like this your whole life, right?
No.
It's taken work. I wasn't here my whole life. I had to start somewhere. I was joking on myself. It's like I started this show, and still to this day, I don't have a bumper. We're at some point gonna work on it. I know, but we're all busy as entrepreneurs, and I feel like just showing honest reality, right? It to others, it's okay. Make mistakes. If you want to start working out and do that, and you don't know how, follow Baltazar. Reach out to Baltazar, right? Start watching YouTube videos. Get educated. Learn. You don't have to start working out 3 days a week. You can start with one. You can start doing push-ups. You can start with little habits. It's just the little wins.
If I had to plug a book real quick, I would say read Atomic Habits. Like, that one's a really good book for people to start to learn, because in that book, I'm drawing a blank on the author right now. It's a super easy book. You can get on Amazon for really inexpensive. But the book essentially is just like, listen.
James Clear,
yeah. It only takes 1 minute a day to start to build that habit. For me, I started off teaching people with resistance bands, and I was like, put the resistance band by the door. So every time you have to pass by your shoes, you have to look at that resistance band and be like, damn, I could do at least 1 minute of that exercise. And then eventually it turns into 2. And then eventually it turns into 5. And so on and so forth. And you just keep building this habit that you take from 1 minute into, bigger chunks of time. And then all of a sudden you start going for walks and you start to do these things. Like America said, like, it doesn't have to be the commitment of 3 times right away. It can start off with 1. That's how I start off with many of my clients. It's like, hey, sign up with me for 1 day a week. You sign up with me 1 day a week. You go to the gym when you want to. If not, we'll just rotate workouts when you're with me. And people saw success with that. Like, I was getting people to lose 20 pounds within their first 6 months by just doing 1 day a week. So, like, if you want to work with me 1 day a week, that's perfectly fine, because everybody has a starting point that's going to be effective for you and how you can achieve the goals that you want. And then little by little, the food will come with it. It'll fall into place if you truly do want to start to see the transformation your body's going through.
The other part too is if you do commit to 3 days, or if you do commit to the 1 day, and there's that week that you don't make it, that doesn't mean quit.
No, yeah.
That doesn't mean, oh my God, I failed, I quit. I'm judge yourself, be the worst critic, because we are our own worst critics. It's okay, you failed. So what? Like I told you, little kids at school tell my daughter, oh my God, you're a loser. You know what I tell my daughter? Good job, high five, you're a loser.
Yeah.
She was like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, high five, you're a loser. I'm like, being a loser is the best thing ever. Why? Because you get up and you get to try again, and you try again, and you try again, and you try again, over and over and over. So what if you didn't show up to work out I'm gonna call myself out here, the last 6 months because of whatever, I'm gonna excuse myself, right? But I'm back at it again. Why? Because I want to build something, and I know to give myself grace, right? I, for myself, had to work on my mental health, my spiritual health, and myself before I was gonna be able to now incorporate my body. And sometimes it takes little steps, right? Little baby steps.
Without a doubt, yeah, like people go through trauma all the time, whether that be, a wedding that you were gearing up for, you just had a baby, you're going through a divorce, a death in the family. Like there's all kinds of road bumps in life that can come up, and sometimes they come up one after another. Like unfortunately, my sister, she had 7 people in her family die in 1 year, from the course of like December, like right before Christmas, all the way through almost the end of the year again. She had 7 family members pass away, and what was like you can't do anything about that. Like it's just unfortunate that someone had to go through so much trauma, but yet she still tried to do what she could at that time, and she'll eventually get to the point where she can do more for herself. But like her husband's doing that now too. Like he's now starting to take an active role in his lifestyle and to better himself in that aspect. So you're gonna run into things. It's just, do you have what it takes to push yourself to say I'm not going to give up on myself and to do it at that point.
Agreed. Well, time is up, Baltazar.
Ah, that was fun.
It was
Thank
fun.
you.
It was fun. We'll talk about that off camera, never mind.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us today in Success Without Borders, Exito Sin Fronteras. I hope you liked the show. If you did, please share, follow us at KUHS Denver, KUHS Communications. Go and listen to us at KUHSdenver.com. Follow Baltazar, Relentless Spirit Fitness.
And
nutrition. Or just Baltazar Villanueva. Thank you everyone that listened in. Thank you Alexis for commenting. And we will see you next week. Actually, we'll see you tomorrow, but
yep.
we'll see you
Midday
here
Fitness.
next week. Thank you everyone. We're still on our mind. Bye everyone.
Yeah, I saw some of your questions at the end. I was like, oh, and then she didn't go to them.
Nah. You did great.
Thank you. That was fun.
That was a really good show.
Thank you.
I wasn't talking to you. No, I'm kidding.
Most people don't, so that's cool.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome, man. You got some really good nuggets in there for sure. Hey, let me get that poker box from you.
Yes, está detrás. Ya te
Oh,
vas.
it is?